According to the National Institute of Environmental Health and Science, a pesticide is any substance used to kill, repel, or control certain forms of plant or animal life that are considered to be pests. Because of the widespread use of agriculture chemicals in food production, people are exposed to low levels of pesticide residues through their diets. Scientists do not yet have a clear understanding of health effects of these pesticide residues. Other evidence suggests that children are particularly susceptible to adverse effects from exposure to pesticides. People may also be exposed to pesticide use in a variety of settings, including homes, schools, hospitals, and workplaces.
By the 1930s, agricultural and biological engineering had led to the development of synthetic pesticides. Synthetic pesticides weren't used on a large scale in the U.S. until after World War II, and by the 1950s, many farmers were dependent on these pesticides. With this widespread use came government regulation. In 1951, the FDA was authorized to establish limits on pesticide usage on food crops. In 1959, legislation was passed that required all pesticides to be registered with the FDA. Throughout the 1960s, enough people expressed concerns about the safety of certain pesticides that DDT was banned in 1972. In 1993, the National Academy of Sciences put out a report called Pesticides in the Diets of Infants and Children. This report led to several much-needed improvements to existing pesticide regulations.
As mentioned earlier, pesticides can be a dangerous chemical if used improperly. Pesticides can have a major impact on the environment and the way they affect plants and animals. It is very common for water, soil, and other vegetation to be contaminated by pesticides. Typically, insecticides are the most dangerous form of pesticides. These insecticides can contaminate the environment in different ways, such as air pollution and soil contamination.
Permaculture Research Institute says that pesticides have the potential to contaminate drinking water supplies. They are applied to farmlands, gardens, and lawns and can make their way into groundwater or surface water systems that feed drinking water supplies. Another report from the National Pesticide Information Center says soil can be degraded and the community of organisms living in the soil can be damaged by the misuse or overuse of pesticides. Some pesticides are more toxic to soil organisms than others. Some pesticides may break down quickly when applied to soils, while others may persist for longer periods of time. Using insecticides is a common and in a lot of cases necessary for crop production to prevent pests that could damage the plant from feeding on it. However, the use of insecticides on a plant can harm the plant and affect the plant growth and development of the plant.
When pesticides are used on plants, they can end up in the food that is produced, whether it is grown on the plant or is eaten by another animal. Many synthetic pesticides have potentially harmful effects on humans. One of the most well-known harmful pesticides in recent years is Roundup. Roundup contains glyphosate, which can cause cancer, ADHD, heart disease, and reproductive problems. Another example is DDT. DDT, an insecticide which was banned in the U.S. in 1972, can cause vomiting and seizures, may affect the liver and reproductive organs, and is possibly a carcinogen. Another banned pesticide that was once widely used in the U.S. is Dursban. Dursban was banned in 2000 and contains a chemical known as chlorpyrifos. When the human body attempts to process this chemical, the chemical changes to a toxic form that attacks the nervous system. The effects of this chemical can range from a runny nose all the way to unconsciousness and paralysis.
Engineers are able to use modern technology to come up with new solutions for pesticide runoff in farm fields. Satellite images are used to map fields and determine the path of runoff. This, along with pest surveys, allow the creation of pesticide regimens specific to each field that minimize the impact of runoff. Another solution is the creation of new crop rotations and field layouts that reduce the impact of common pests. This includes bait crops and planting different crops each year that are not affected by the same pests.